How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the Roller Coaster History Podcast. You are listening to Airtime Traveler. My name is Nathan Grace, and today I'm joined by my sister, Kirsi Goad.
Hi.
Finally got her name right this time. The other time she's been on the podcast, keep calling her by her maiden name. So, for those of you who don't know, I usually am recording these with my wife, Haley. She was unable to come to the Ace Around the World event. That's because she's pregnant, for those of you that might be tuning in for the first time. So obviously really wanted her to be there, missed having her there, missed, not being able to do this trip report with her, but it's kind of one of those things that's difficult. Obviously we're very, very happy for Haley to be pregnant, and that's what we wanted. But obviously that comes with, the downside of she can't really make it to all these trips with me. And so, but yeah, so I was able to have Kirsi there with me. She'll be doing the trip report with me today, and just want to say, we missed having Haley there, and that's why she's not, recording with us today. So, if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, first of all, welcome to our Worlds of Fun trip report. Also, technically, this is, if you're ACE members, this is for Ace Around the World. It's the event that we went to as part of this. So, if this is your first time tuning into the podcast, typically here we're diving into the history of roller coasters. Each episode we take one roller coaster and dive into the history. But today we'll just be doing a trip report. This is kind of a bonus episode. So be sure, if you want to, if you're interested in roller coaster history, you can go and check out some of our actual Airtime Traveler episodes. And if you enjoy the trip reports, there'll be more of these coming too, because I recently went to Holiday World in Kentucky Kingdom for the first time. So be sure to keep an eye out for those trip reports in the coming weeks. And I think that's all I've got for the intro. So, yeah, welcome.
So, I don't have anything to add to the intro.
So typically the way we do these, Kirsi's done 2 of these. I know. Let's see, Disney World. Maybe
World
just one trip report, but then you've done a couple of the episodes with me. So
I think so.
So the trip reports, we typically do atmosphere, food, and then we'll talk about rides towards the end. I want to do this a little differently, though, because obviously we went there for Ace Around the World. We were there for the event. So we'll kind of, I think we'll still do it the same way, but maybe as things come up pertaining to the actual event, kind of mention that too. I did want to start talking about Zambezi Zinger. Just because, first of all, if you are curious, no, neither of us have ridden Zambezi Zinger. As we're recording this, it's only been open for like a couple days, and we haven't had a chance to go back yet. That being said, if you are curious about Zambezi Zinger, we were able to go on a quote-unquote behind-the-scenes tour. From what I understand, and I haven't gotten confirmation of this from the park or anything, but my understanding, just based on what I've seen with other ACE events and kind of how things went throughout the rest of the day that we were there, basically, if you weren't at the event, the way it was supposed to work is we would show up, I think it was 2 hours before the park opened. I think so. I think it was 2 hours. And basically we would have an hour and a half of a behind-the-scenes tour with Zambezi Zinger. And then we were supposed to have first ride of the day on Zambezi Zinger. And then we would be at the park the rest of the day. There would be a catered lunch, which included a Q&A with some of the park officials. And then at the very end of the day, there would be an hour of ERT on Zambezi Zinger. That was the original schedule that was announced when they announced the event. Obviously, that changed because Zambezi Zinger. So early May, there was kind of rumored they hadn't announced an opening day yet, so we weren't even sure Zambezi Zinger was going to be open. So the park actually came and said to ACE, let them know, basically, we're still going to have the event, obviously. We'll still do the behind-the-scenes tour. If Zambezi Zinger can't open in time, then we'll do first ride of the day on something else. And ERT, we will do Prowler and Mamba, I think is what they came back and said. I can't remember. It may have originally been Zambezi Zinger and Prowler. I think that's what it was. And then they came back and said, we'll do Prowler and Mamba if we can't get Zambezi Zinger open.
Gotcha.
But at that time, they also offered refunds. They also said, like, if you're, if you're worried about Zambezi Zinger not being open, you can get a refund and, whatever. So I think we had considered getting a refund at that point, but it wasn't official that Zambezi Zinger wasn't going to be open, so we decided to wait. And then they made the announcement that it would be opening basically the weekend that we were going to be there, Memorial Day weekend. It was going to open like
2 days before.
Yeah, like Thursday, and we would be there Saturday. So we decided to keep our tickets, obviously. We were super excited. And then, I think it was like Monday or Tuesday of that week before the event. I think it was Monday. The park came out and said that Zambezi Zinger was not going to be opening on time.
I want to say it was like the day before. I felt like it was really last minute.
It was, I remember, it was pretty early in the week. And I remember that it was earlier in the week because when I reached out to Ace, I was asking about the refund again. And they basically said, we just paid them on Sunday. And I remember thinking, that's pretty weird that they just paid them Sunday and then Monday they made the announcement, or Monday or Tuesday. So I was like, that's very strange that they would accept payment and then 2 days later make the change. Yeah. Now, originally in my head, I was like, that seems kind of shady. In hindsight, based on what, how the Q&A went and some of the other things we saw that day, it seems like to me it was not the park's decision to push it off. I feel like it was the manufacturer just ran out of time to get things in place. Just because the guy, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Claire. I think his name was Claire.
I think so.
He works for GCI, and he said that it was a supply chain issue. Basically, they couldn't get the part that they were waiting for, and he said it was when it ran in the rain was the problem. The lift hill, it was having issues that it would get stuck or roll back if it started to rain. I don't know. It was a very I couldn't quite catch everything that he had because also they didn't provide him with a megaphone, so only some people could hear him. It was ultimately the tour and essentially that's everything that happened beforehand with Zambezi Zinger. And ultimately, we decided to go because we couldn't get a refund. And I'm glad we went. We had a really good time. And it is frustrating that now the coaster's open, we got to find time to go back so that I can get on the new ride. But so I think the only constructive criticism I would give to that situation is don't wait till the week the ride is supposed to open. I think, now that I think about it, I think it was Tuesday that they made the announcement because I think people were... I remember. It was Wednesday because I remember now people were saying literally 24 hours before it's supposed to open, you're making the announcement. I really felt like it was super last minute. I remember that now. It was Wednesday. That's right. I remember that now. So that would be my only constructive criticism to the park.
Even
is just
a couple days before.
Yes, 24 really hours is pretty last minute. And especially because it took them another 3 weeks to open the ride. So to me, that seems like you should know pretty I don't know, if I'm thinking in, my work, in business terms, and the work that I do, I know pretty soon, if I'm not going to get a project done within 3 weeks, right? I'm not going to get up to the deadline and say, oh, I'm almost there. I'll just, we'll see if maybe I can get it done in time. But if I have 3 weeks left of work to do and it's due tomorrow, there's no way I can say, oh, maybe I'll get it done. No, that's not. So I don't know. Maybe it was they really just had no idea when the parts were going to come in. Maybe they were on a boat and the boat got lost, or I don't know.
One possibility is maybe they didn't get rain, and they hadn't tested it yet in the rain enough. That's
a good point. Maybe they didn't catch the issue until Monday or Tuesday, and that was just very last minute. They had to make that call. It's very weird. So I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe they caught the issue Sunday, and then by that point they realized the parts that they needed weren't going to get in time, or I don't know.
Hopefully,
so
something like that.
I'm trying to give the park the benefit of the doubt because I know and ultimately they did their best to make it up to all of us at the event.
I think they did a pretty good job with all things considered.
So, now there were some, I don't know, this is hearsay more than anything, so I'm not going to say that this is 100% confirmed. But last week, 2 weeks ago, I don't know, recently, people started posting on social media that they had ridden Zambezi Zinger. And, like, started posting pictures of them on the ride and, like, in the station. And essentially what had happened was they did what's called a soft open, which basically means they just kind of open the ride and, like, invite people to come and test it that are at the park already. So there's not, like, any announcement. There's nothing, you know, which parks will do that. Disney does that. Like, a lot of parks have, quote-unquote, soft opening dates. It's essentially just test runs before they decide to officially open it up. I don't know why they do that, but it is kind of a thing in the industry. So that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is I saw reports of people that were calling the park and HR was telling them that no, the ride is not open. Meanwhile, it was very clear that on social media it was open. In fact, one of the two designers of the ride were posting pictures of people on the ride, which clearly they would be the ones to know if it was open or not. So, again, that's not confirmed. That's just what other people were saying that they called the park. And so I'll just leave it at that. I'll say if the park did do that, then that's really, you can't just straight up lie to your guests. But there's been other instances where people just post stuff on social media just to get attention. Right. So you never know. So, all things said, I'm frustrated with how the Zambezi Zinger thing played out, but I'll try to give the park the benefit of the doubt. And, I've heard it's worth the wait. So I've heard it's really good. One other thing, I don't think you know this, they actually changed the height limit in the time that we were there and now. Oh, really? It was going to be 40 inches, and they moved it all the way up to 48 inches.
Oh, wow.
So,
big
that's
difference.
A very big difference.
I wonder how they decided
that needed ultimately that would have happened before they start putting people on the ride, but it is interesting because this was kind of originally built as a family coaster, and it still kind of is because it's really not that tall, but from what I've heard, a lot of people say it's a lot more not intense, but like thrilling. It's a lot more thrilling than they anticipated just because it was originally built as a family coaster. So I think the speed, obviously, it's not like any faster than, Prowler or whatever, but I think just some of the transitions and the tunnel and different things, they're just like, they had it at a thrill level 4 of 5, and now they've put it at 5 out of 5. So kind of interesting. So I don't know if that also was part of what was happening, like they were trying to make the decision on if they were going to raise the height limit or anything. But
very interesting.
It is a prototype model, so I know things can happen like that with prototypes. And anyway, I think I'll just leave it at that. I'll say the only complaint is you can't let people know 24 hours beforehand that it's not going to open the day before because people already have plane tickets and other plans. And Memorial Day is like a big holiday, so a lot of people planned their Memorial Days around going to the park that weekend. So, but who knows? Maybe it was unavoidable. We'll give the park the benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
I think that's all we'll say about Zambezi Zinger. I don't think we really have anything else to say. We haven't ridden it, so
not really.
So we'll just wanted to get that out of the way because I know that's the main topic people are talking about with Worlds of Fun, especially since it just opened. As you're listening to this, it's just been open for less than a week, probably. So, anyway, that's out of the way. We'll just talk about the things we did get to do. So, Worlds of Fun, we've both been there. This was my second time at the park.
This was my fourth or fifth.
Yeah, something like that.
Times.
We have family that lives in the Kansas City area. For those of you who don't know, we're in the northern Arkansas area. So Worlds of Fun isn't our home park, but I would say it's probably the second closest major amusement park to us. So, but we typically just go to Silver Dollar City just because Silver Dollar City's been adding things pretty consistently, and it's closer. I don't know. Just, that's always been the home park, so there's not really been a reason to drive an hour away to a park that isn't adding new stuff. But Zambezi Zinger kind of gave an opportunity to do that. And the Ace Around the World event is really what caught my eye. Ultimately, I probably still would have gone for Zambezi Zinger's opening. I guess I would have been going this week, probably, if I hadn't gone to the Ace Around the World event. Yeah. But I just got an Ace membership this year. And so I was like, what the heck, might as well put it to use. Yeah. And and the event was really well done. So we already kind of talked about I guess the one other thing I'll mention was Zambezi Zinger. They had a behind the scenes tour that they were supposed to take us on, which really just ended up being a group photo and a Q&A with the Claire from GCI and Jeff. I think Jeff from Skyline, I think, were the two people that were there. So, which some of their, input and the Q&A was really interesting, and that's fine. I felt like the park was ill-prepared for how many people were there.
Probably. It wasn't even like, we literally just stood in one of the queues.
It was where is it? It's the queue for, right here. The queue for Fear of the Nile.
So we just stood there, and it was like a different angle, but it wasn't one that was...
It's not behind the scenes because...
to the public.
Yeah, we literally went there a couple other times during the day to see if we could watch it testing, so...
So it was definitely not behind the scenes, but the Q&A was interesting.
Yeah, I guess, if I had to guess, I don't know how long it's been since Worlds of Fun has done behind-the-scenes tours. Or maybe they do, but maybe they just haven't done it with that many people.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of under the assumption that the park was just kind of not prepared for how many people were there, even though they know how many people sign up, so I'm not sure why, but that's just kind of what it felt like. Because, number one, they didn't do anything behind the scenes. And number two, we could barely hear Claire and Jeff because they didn't have like megaphones or microphones or anything. And they're just trying to talk to this group of 150 people that showed up for the event. And only you had to I don't know. It was just kind of ill-organized, and I don't know. It was fine, and I enjoyed it, but I was slightly disappointed that we didn't get any behind the scenes, and that really could not hear that well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I think for you and I, we tried to at least get close enough that we could hear one of the two guys, but there were certainly tons of people with us that heard pretty much nothing. So just came to the park early just to stand in line for Fury of the Nile in the heat and then go take a group photo. So, which is fine, but that's not exactly what we signed up for. So hopefully Worlds of Fun will get more and more people coming to these events in the future. I think the park's on a good trajectory right now. I think with this being a really, their first big investment in a long time, I'm hopeful that they see enough return on that investment that it convinces Cedar Fair to keep investing in the park. Because they have plenty of land to work with. That's not the problem. It's just really if they're going to see the value in continuing to add things to the park. Because if they do, then, obviously I'd love to keep coming to this event and, keep seeing all kinds of behind-the-scenes store stuff if it's actually behind the scenes. So, so anyway, but after that was over, we basically just kind of got to explore the park as normal until the other Ace stuff that was later, which we'll talk about. But so as far as atmosphere for the park, I've done a lot of blabbering, so I'll let you talk about your thoughts on the atmosphere of the park.
I think most of the park feels really nice. There are some areas that feel a little less nice and a little bit more like a carnival. But I feel like over by Patriot and Steelhawk is a nice area and feels updated and everything, and up by Mamba too. So I guess probably by their bigger rides, the more popular rides and stuff, it feels really nice. And I don't remember it being too I don't remember it being unclean except for that one bathroom that we tried to wash our milkshake cups in. But everybody else was trying to wash. I think
that must have been that bathroom in between Wild West and Americana, kind of over by Steelhawk.
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's interesting because the whole, I don't know if you know this, but the whole park was originally built around the world in 80 days.
Okay,
that
makes
was
sense.
that was
That
the
makes sense.
initial theme to the park. So that's
I
the
hadn't
worlds
put that
of
together,
fun.
but that fits. Like
Yeah, so
the hot air balloon thing and everything.
yep, and so that's why you got Scandinavia, Africa,
East Asia,
Wild West, Egypt. You have all these different parts of the world that are themed in the park, and it's hard for me because
we compare it to Epcot.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like, and this isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's just that Disney has way more money than Worlds of Fun does. It just is kind of Epcot for a local park instead of for a big international park.
I wish they'd do more with some of the, like, there's plenty in Americana, and now they've got Zambezi Zinger in Africa, but, like, Scandinavia just has, like, some littler rides. There's not really
they've
anything...
got, I mean, Viking Voyager, I guess, is just, that's the big, quote-unquote, big ride in that part.
So, it'd be nice if they put some stuff to kind of help, like, have something big in each area so that you can kind of have something to, you can tell what part of the world you're supposed to be in a little bit easier and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like if I'm just kind of looking here, I just realized they don't even have a title on here for the Mamba and Fear of the Nile part of the park.
Is that supposed to be?
I mean,
Africa?
I guess it is technically still
Africa,
right? So I guess that makes sense.
The Africa logo.
It's just the Africa logo is like way down here. It should be kind of in the middle of that whole section, but
so much further down.
So I feel like that section of the park is pretty fleshed out, but also there's 4 roller coasters in the Africa section.
Yeah. So I feel like there needs to be some more big things like that in some of the other countries that they have.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And like Americana's pretty, I mean,
good.
Patriot, is a good solid name for a coaster in that, in an American themed part of the park. And East Asia, it's a tiny little part of the park. What's there is good though.
Yeah, so you walk in there and you
with
get an idea of
Bamboozler and Spinning Dragons, and like it's very Panda Express. So Asian.
Asian cuisine at its finest.
But I don't know, the Wild West section.
I don't even remember a Wild West section.
Kind of. So okay, I'm trying to think of what else is over there. Because I guess Timberwolf falls into that section.
Yeah. Cyclone Sam's, I remember that, and that I can see that fitting.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's because there's so many parks that have a Wild West section in their park, like
Silver City is just a Wild West section.
Pretty much. And Dollywood and Knott's Berry Farm. There's so many that have kind of Cedar Point. There's so many parks that have done the Wild West thing, so it feels kind of lackluster compared to some of those. But I don't know. I guess the Africa part of the park is probably the most interesting to me from an atmosphere perspective.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we were at one point we were walking up to Mamba and they had some like Egyptian style music that was playing, and I was like, this is really cool actually. Like the music was really cool music, and kind of got me in the vibe of the atmosphere of that section of the park. So,
I think if they just did that with all the other sections, it would make it a little bit more cohesive. Because it's a really fun idea, and obviously it can be successful because Epcot is very successful.
Well, and it's funny because I was about to say, well, maybe they had a sign that like introduced to each section, but then I was like, well, Epcot doesn't do that. So. But so I went to Holiday World recently, and they also have like themed sections themed to holidays rather than to parts of the country, and each one of those sections has a sign that like welcomes you into the section. So I was just kind of thinking about that, but then I was like, well, Epcot doesn't do that.
With Epcot, it's very very obvious because they have the money to make it very obvious.
True, and each section has like a massive pavilion to kind of
so
welcome
maybe
you there.
if
So
a lower budget option could be
like a sign to welcome you. So because
So you
I
have
think
an
that
idea. And maybe there are signs and we missed them.
maybe that's true. Because like the Europa part of the park, I think we only went through that section one time. Like I kind of forgot it was there.
The only reason I remember it is because of Le Taxi Tour.
Yeah, we literally we were like, we just ate and we need something chill to go on, so we went on Le Taxi Tour and we couldn't find it. Like we were like, we can see it right there. How do you get there? And we eventually found it.
It took us a bit, but we did find it. So I think that was the only time we actually walked through there.
Yeah, and like the names of the rides really do fit the
They
sections, because like you've got Autobahn and Flying Dutchman and Europa.
Taxi Tour.
And then Scandinavia, you've got Nordic Chaser and Zulu and Fjordlane. So, like, they do a good job with the names of the rides to like, help you clearly see what section they're in. But, I don't know.
It's a really interesting concept, and it'd be fun to see them.
Yeah, and I think if it was a little more fleshed out, I think it would be really well done. So,
yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, so... it's a little bit about the atmosphere. I don't think anything else to add there.
Okay,
talk about food. Now, one of the things we got to do as part of the event was, I mentioned this earlier, that they had a catered lunch for us to go to. And while we were doing that, they did a couple things. But one of the things they did is they brought out some of the new park management to kind of talk about different initiatives and things that were going on with the park. Obviously, they talked about Zambezi Zinger, but then they had the lead chef, the executive chef for the park came and talked, and that was actually quite interesting.
It was.
Like I don't go to the parks for the food; it's a part of the experience, but that's not why I'm there. But just like listening to him talk about all the different things they're doing with the food at the park, I really kind of sat there and I was like, I am impressed with how much effort is going into the food experience at the park. Like there was it's the new restaurant, was it Grill-a Grill? Is that what it was? Yeah, Grill-a Grill over by Zambezi. He was talking about that there's a chicken sandwich there that they marinate the chicken in pickle brine, but the pickle brine comes from pickles that they hand make at the park. And then they use, they marinate the chicken in that. And then, so like, just like the thought process and the effort and the innovation.
And they were talking about how like every single one of their sauces is made.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Except probably like the ketchup and mustard.
Yeah, like the ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise they just get from Heinz or whatever. But everything else they said was handmade, right?
On site.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because that's a lot of extra effort.
Oh, yeah.
But
there's certainly other parks that don't care that much. So I was really impressed. And obviously we were only there for a day, and one of the meals we were there was catered, which I imagine they probably made on property, but I couldn't tell you if it came from a specific restaurant or whatever.
Yeah.
So we only really ate at one restaurant, and they got one dessert. That's basically all we got to actually eat at the park. So I can't tell you we actually went and tried all these different foods that they were talking about, but just listening to him talk about it and how passionate he was, I would totally recommend that you really check out some of the food options at the park if you go sometime this year or in the future, whatever. So the two food experiences we did have, we went to that's why I pulled this up so I can because I never remember what these places are called. Was it Gateway Pizza?
Gateway Pizza. That's where we got our pizza.
Or is it Paradise Pizza?
I think it was Gateway Pizza.
I think you're right. I think it is.
And there's the shake shop right there.
Perfect. Okay. So the first one we did was we went to Gateway Pizza, which is right at the front of the park. And we actually went there mostly because he recommended it as like somewhere for us to go later in the day. And we just kind of were...
Like, sure.
Yeah, we did look at Grill-a Grill, but I think that sandwich that I was mentioning earlier, I don't think it's ready yet.
Yeah.
Like
it might be by now, but
it might be by now. That's true. But when we went, I think it was still in development for later that year. So, but we went to this, I forgot what it's called, Gateway Pizza.
Yeah, Gateway Pizza.
We went here specifically, one thing that he mentioned was they wanted to invent a food, like a theme park food that could be an alternative to the famous turkey leg. Like the people that, they grab this big old turkey leg and they can eat it while they're walking around the park. They wanted like an alternative to that. And so they invented the world famous mozzarella stick, which is, I think they said, was it a pound?
It was a half a pound, I think. I think it was a half pound.
Half pound.
Foot
long mozzarella stick. And that alone, I was just kind of like, like, that's a lot of cheese, but also, like, just to say that you tried it, like, it was just like, I gotta give that a try. So that's what I ordered, and then I think you got...
I just got pizza and a salad.
Pizza and a salad, so, but the, I'll just talk about the mozzarella stick. It came with 3 dipping sauces. It was like it was a ranch, a marinara, and then like a pesto. And it was really good. They, like, obviously, if you're not, like, crazy about just eating a bunch of cheese, like, it's not really, like, a full fleshed out meal per se, but,
you did get garlic knots with it.
I did get some garlic knots with it, so at least I had a little, some carbs to go with my fat.
Variety.
But if you're looking for, like, just a snack, then, yeah, it was pretty good. So, if you like that sort of thing, then it was very good. So, and the sauces were good, which, as we said, they hand make all of them, so they're all fresh and they're all, like, really good. So
yeah. And
then I'll let you talk about what you got.
I just got probably pepperoni pizza, and it was really good. It wasn't just like Chuck E. Cheese pizza or something like that. Like it was pretty good. It was pretty good pizza. And then I got a salad. It wasn't that exciting. It was just...
I feel like was it like a prepackaged salad?
Yeah, it was a prepackaged salad. So it wasn't anything too crazy. I just wanted something to go with my pizza. So I wasn't impressed with the vinaigrette that came with it. I feel like they probably, when they put it in the little cups, had a big, like, vat of all of it and didn't stir it up good enough before they put it into the cups.
Just get, like, a bunch of oil.
Just oil with, like, a tiny bit of vinegar. So I'm not sure if that's how it's supposed to be. So I basically just ate oily lettuce, but... but...
There you go. There's a little constructive criticism and... World's of fun, and just mix up your vinaigrette a little more.
But it was good. I really liked the pizza. It was really, really
pizza was good. So then the other thing we ended up doing, probably wouldn't have otherwise, but because of the whole Zambezi Zinger debacle, the park went out of their way to kind of make it up to us with a few things. And so one of the things, I'll mention them all now that I'm talking about it. One of the things they gave us a free fast pass for Zambezi Zinger to use at any point during 2023. So when we do go back, we will be able to just hop right on the ride, and we'll probably still wait in line too, because there's no point in going up, riding it once, and coming back. 6 hours of driving for one roller coaster ride. But at least one of the times we get to ride it, you can just hop straight on. So that'll be nice. Yeah. They did also give us three. They gave us 3 individual fast passes to use anywhere throughout the day.
We didn't even end up using all of them.
We didn't. It was not as busy as I thought it would be for Memorial Day weekend.
Well, I don't know. I have a disability pass that we use.
Right, that
helps
true.
a lot.
But even this, I mean, we'll talk about coasters in a minute. Spinning Dragons was really the only exception to that. The line for that was absolute insanity. But everything else was, 40 minutes at the most, probably, which is not bad for Memorial Day weekend. Yeah, so.
A lot of people probably were planning to come for Zambezi Zinger
and decided to
go the next weekend or something like that.
Yeah. And we weren't there on Memorial Day, so maybe it was busier on Monday.
Maybe so.
I don't know. But, so yeah. And then the last thing, they also, they did, I don't know if this was planned or not before the whole Zambezi Zinger thing happened, but they did do a huge raffle with like a ton of stuff that they gave away. GCI had like, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 shirts and hoodies that they gave away. And then the park gave away 8 wheels.
Something like that.
I think it was like 6 or 8 wheels from Mamba, and then 4 lap bars from Timberwolf. So some pretty cool stuff. We were unfortunately unable to secure any of them.
So unlucky.
We were so close too, because they did a raffle, but then they also did a little pop quiz, and we got 8 out of the 9 answers correct, and we were so close. Like we got to the point, because they only did the first 10 that got the pop quiz finished, and she came and checked our sheet, so we were fast enough that we got, but we just had one answer that was wrong. So close. If we had got the one answer right, I'd be holding my Mamba wheel right now, but that's all right. But I did see that another coaster club went this week, and they also got some stuff. So that may have been planned before the whole Zambezi Zinger thing happened, but maybe GCI brought the stuff because they felt bad. I don't know.
Who knows?
So, but that was cool. And then the last thing that they gave us was, which is why this all relates to while we're talking about food right now. They gave us free milkshakes to their brand new milkshake shop that they just opened at the park. And it's, I've got it here. Where is it?
Milkshakes or something like that.
The All-American Shake Shop. So it's over by Patriot and Steelhawk over in that Americana section. And they have these just massive craft milkshakes with like, I think they have 4 flavors.
There was like a
so you got the strawberry shortcake one, which is strawberry ice cream with like a big piece of shortcake on the top.
And a strawberry.
I got
had a donut.
The donut one, which is vanilla ice cream with just a full donut in the top of the milkshake.
And there was a s'more one, and I don't remember what was on top.
A s'more one, and then a brownie one. Yeah. So essentially, they make this big milkshake, but then it's got like a frosting with like sprinkles or whatever on the rim of the cup. And then, fill it with the milkshake, put the whipped cream on, and then all of them have like a baked good that they put on the top of it, whether it's the brownie or the donut, et cetera, et cetera. And they were really good. It kind of reminds me of Hershey Park has some shakes that are like that, but they obviously use like Hershey Reese's and all that. But it reminded me of that, and I was impressed because like that's the kind of stuff that like as people are walking by, you see that and you're like, whoa, where'd you get that?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want from a park, like a place to eat at your park, is you want that wow factor that makes people go and find it and go and buy it. Like, if they just have like a normal milkshake in like a little paper cup, like that's not going to catch anyone's attention. But because it's in this really... This is a whole other debacle we'll talk about in a second, but they put in this really nice, it's plastic, but it looks like a nice like soda shop milkshake glass type of thing. And so with that, and with the big old donut in the top, like it's just really eye-catching. And we even had a couple people that just like looked at us and like, whoa, what's that? Like, and they gave that to us for free, and they're like $10 milkshakes, so that was pretty nice of them. So
and you got to keep the cups.
And we did. Now, that is a system they need to figure out a little bit, because if you want to keep the cup, which both of us did, because we're like, I can't just throw away this nice cup. It's a nice cup. Even if I don't use it, just to like put it on my shelf of other theme park memorabilia that I've got. But like it's dirty, so you don't want to just put like this ice cream covered thing into like your bag.
I didn't finish my milkshake either.
No, so we're like, okay, well, we'll just take it to the bathroom and rinse it out in the sink. Well, lots of other people had that idea, and you actually had the problem that the women's bathroom was closed.
Our bathroom was closed, and yours was disgusting.
Yeah, and so we ended up just trying to wash these out and like
the water,
the drinking fountain, and a little bit in the sink in the bathroom, and then like grabbing napkins from the milkshake shop. So I do think if they could advertise it somewhere in the shop that like you can bring it back there and they'll wash it out for you or something, that would be a good resolution to that issue.
I've been to like a milkshake shop where they have those big fancy milkshakes, and they you get to keep the cup that they come in.
Did we?
But they have,
we went
a washing station.
So we went to a place down in Texas. Oh,
It's called the Yard.
The Yard. That's right. What do they do there? Because
there's a washing station.
Is that
they
what
have
it was?
Sinks and paper towels and stuff that are just like right in the middle of the dining area.
Gotcha.
So
and it's like labeled like washing station for your
that's
mugs or whatever.
Yeah.
So they should do that, I think. So
or like at Spaghetti Factory, when you get the souvenir cup, instead of you having to wash it, they just bring you a new one and take yours.
Oh, interesting.
So they literally, it's like in a plastic.
That's not a bad idea. Like they could tell you, like, if you bring this back, we'll give you a clean one.
And we'll take this one.
That's good. I like that. I think that would probably be the easiest solution.
It would be very,
probably.
very straightforward, and I don't think it wouldn't be very like.
Well, because it wouldn't cost. It wouldn't cost the part. The only thing it would cost is you're doing a little. You're doing dishes instead of just giving away these cups to be thrown away. Yeah. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
That would. Well, ultimately, it causes more work for the dishwashers, but probably less work for the janitors in the bathroom. So probably
even chocolate chips out of the bathroom sink.
So probably evens out in the long run. So
probably.
That's a good solution.
Just relocate. Just tell one of the janitors, you wash dishes now, and put them.
Yeah, there you go.
In the shop.
That's not a bad solution. I like that. So, okay. So that was our experience with the food. I don't think anything else to talk about. I don't think we got anything else.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that was it. So just be sure to go and check out Worlds of Fun's food options, because it sounds like they're doing a lot of cool stuff there right now. So I'm just looking at this Surf's Up Pavilion. Like, that looks good. Really good.
I'm not even hungry right now, but I would eat that right now.
Yeah. And I'll say some of the other parks I've been to recently, just their food options haven't come nearly the experience we had at Worlds of Fun that day. So just kudos to Worlds of Fun for the stuff they're doing right now with their food. Good stuff. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about rides. Now, we'll start with some flat rides, because we were there long enough, because we were there from park open to park close. Oh, that's a good idea. Here, there we go. I'll even open up the list of rides here. There we go. We were there for, I think park opened at 11 to the general public. Mm-hmm. And we got to ride Patriot beforehand. So we basically had gotten two rides on Patriot before the park really got busy. And then, so we were there for, because of the ERT, we were there till 10. Mm-hmm. So we basically spent 11 hours at this park. So we had so much time to, sometimes that amount of park, and I'm like, I only got on the roller coasters because that's all the time I had. Yeah. But we had so much time.
We had no interest in riding it necessarily, but we're like, oh, well, we got time. So
let's just kind of scroll through here. We did not do the water park at all, I will say that. We did not do that. We didn't do Cyclone Sam's. I've heard such good things about that ride, but I just don't do spinning flat rides.
I don't.
Yeah. I'm going to say Cyclone Sam's looks really cool, and kudos to the park for putting the effort in for a ride like that. It's just not my cup of tea. You did Detonator.
Once. Just one time. I love drop towers, launch towers, anything like that. I think they're super fun.
Now, is this one, I feel like this one's bigger than the one at Silver Dollar City. I'm going to check while we're talking.
Which one is the one at Silver Dollar City?
The Firefall.
I don't think I've ever even ridden that one.
Oh, really?
Before.
That one seems fairly short to me.
I think it is. It seems very short.
From looking at it. Let's see. So Detonator's 150 feet. There's no way Firefall's 150 feet.
No way.
8 stories, so that's 80 feet. It's like half the size.
Yeah, see, that's why I've never ridden it before. I get my thrill out of heights.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's not the only part, but I do. That's part of it. Is I love being up high. So. Yeah. So, but it was a lot of fun. I did when I was in line. They had some technical difficulties, but I was only in line for another couple extra minutes, and then they got me on. I do wish I could have... This isn't a complaint against the park, this is just this ride in general. I couldn't keep my glasses on, so I couldn't see. So I'm like, this would probably be a really nice view if I could see.
Do you know if they offered, like, if you had a strap-on, would they have let you kick
I'm not sure.
Because I know some parks are like that with the roller coasters.
I'm not sure. Because I once we, like, launched, I was like, okay, I could see why this would probably be a bad idea with glasses on. But it was kind of disappointing just because I was, like, up at the top and I was like,
oh, so blurry.
This is a nice green blob. And there's a nice blue blob. So, but I had a lot of fun on that ride. I love tower stuff.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. We did La Taxi Tour. It's not really too much to talk about there. It's just kind of... one of those typical... I guess the cool thing about La Taxi Tour is I'm pretty sure that's been there since the park opened. So that's like cool. A 50-year-old ride, which is cool. So, let's see. I know we did at least a couple others. At least I think we did. I know there's at least one more I'm thinking of. Didn't do any of the Snoopy stuff. There's Steelhawk. We did Steelhawk twice. We did it once early in the day. And then we decided we wanted to do it at sunset.
Did we not do it 3 times? We only did it 2 times.
I think we did. We got in line 3 times.
And then we realized we left those stupid milkshake cups at a table and had to go back and get them.
We went to take pictures of Patriot. And then we're like, okay, let's go, get a sunset ride on Steelhawk. And then we were about to get in, and I was like... I had like this blue stuff on my hands, which was from the plastic bag that we put the milkshake cups in. And I was like, man, I don't know what this blue stuff is. It was probably from the bag with the milkshake cups in. Where are the milkshake cups?
So we went running back out of line to go find our milkshake
because the line wasn't that bad for Steelhawk. So we ran over there and we're like, oh, okay, they're still here. And then we went back in line, and then we actually rode Steelhawk after that. So it's fine. It's not fine. It's a lot of fun. It's your typical... I mean, all the Cedar Fair... all the Cedar Fair? Most of the Cedar Fair parks have the Windseeker rides. I don't know. Who makes the Windseeker rides? I can't remember anymore. Mondial. I think it's Mondial. So it's the typical Mondial Windseekers that are at all the Cedar Fair parks. So I think they're all the same size. I mean, they're basically all identical. So
301 foot tall.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know why they're all called Windseeker at all of the other parks, and then for some reason Worlds of Fun is called Steelhawk. Because also Worlds of Fun was relocated, I think. I'm pretty sure it was relocated from somewhere. Let's see. Ride was originally located at Knott's Berry Farm, actually. That's interesting.
So Knott's Berry Farm called it Windseeker.
And then when they moved it, they're like, we can't keep it the same
that's
thing.
So weird.
I wonder where that was at Knott's Berry Farm. Obviously, you haven't been there, but I'm trying to imagine where that... Oh, here's the announcement for when it opened at Knott's. Oh, that's the Canada's Wonderland. Oh, it was over by Accelerator. Interesting. I don't even know what's over there now. Oh, this Windseeker will also sport the Knott's K at its top. Oh.
Interesting.
Oh, because, the Sky Cabin has that. Oh, I wonder if this is where Knott's has, like, a huge, huge launch tower. I think it's a 300-foot launch tower.
That's crazy.
Okay, this is completely off topic, but...
Off on a tangent here.
We're a roller coaster history podcast, so we're never going to talk about this again, but I know Kirsi loves these, so I gotta, where is this? I think it's called Extreme Scream, if I'm remembering right. Oh, no, maybe I'm not. It's Supreme Scream, that's what it is. So it's 3 towers as opposed to the 2 that Worlds of Fun has. Oh, it's not 300, it's 252 feet. So it's 100 feet taller than the one that Worlds of Fun.
256.
Oh, what is this? Why does this say 256 and here it says 252? That's funny. But yeah, so it's the same ride model, I'm pretty sure.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Oh, actually, this one, I think this one might be a little different now that I'm looking at it. I think this one might lift you up and then launch you downward.
Oh, weird. 3 seconds flat to get to... I love that. I want to go on that.
Yeah, and then Thrill Enthusiast will bounce halfway back up the ride structure before returning to the launch pad. So, kind of interesting.
Non-Thrill Enthusiasts will just go straight down.
So you have to let them know.
gotta make sure they know beforehand.
Yeah. So this must. I guess this is. When did this open? This is on such a tangent right now.
There it is.
Supreme Scream opening. I'm curious if that's what they did. Oh no, that's been there since '98. I have no idea where the Windseeker was. I'm not gonna keep going down this tangent. But so there you go. So Steelhawk used to be at Knott's Berry Farm. Now it's at Worlds of Fun.
I love that ride. Like
It's
I said, I love being up high. So
it's funny because the last time I had, out of all the parks I've been to, this is still the only one I've ridden.
So
because
I was with you. And I
said,
let's go on Steelhawk.
I mean, that's part of it, but King's Dominion, I was with Haley, and she hates heights. So she wouldn't do it. So I'm like, I don't care that much about it to do it. King's Island, same story. Knott's Berry Farm doesn't have it. Cedar Point, we just didn't have time because I think Dad would have done it.
Yeah.
But there's just so many roller coasters there. We were running from coaster to coaster just to make sure we got them all done in the time we were there.
Makes sense.
And then Carowinds, me and Haley's brother actually got on the ride, buckled in, and then it broke down and we had to get off.
Of course. Well, at least you were still on the ground when I broke down.
Yeah, can you imagine? So to this day, the only one I've ridden is actually the Steelhawk here at Worlds of Fun, which is funny. So, but yeah, good fun ride, very picturesque.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it was funny to see how many cars were lined up to get into the park when we did it early in the day.
Yeah, so many cars.
It was quite a lot. So I think we did do the railroad, which surprised me on how short it was.
Yeah, it didn't seem very short.
And maybe that's just because we're used to Silver Dollar Cities. That's like a 20-minute ride, where Worlds of Fun was like 8 minutes, I think. So that just kind of surprised me. I was like, oh, we're back.
We're done already. Okay.
But it was fine. Like, it's not a knock on it to say that it's only 8 minutes. It just surprised me. So, all right. So that's the flat rides we did. Let's talk roller coasters. Now, obviously, we didn't do Zambezi Zinger because it wasn't open. We'll get to it at some point this year. We did not do Cosmic Coaster because we're too big.
We had no children with us. If we had a child with us, we could have ridden it. But
so we didn't get the credit. No.
Just bring Parker back.
It's actually, you can see the ridership here. This is how many people that voted on these specific rides in the Coaster Bot rankings. You can see it's between 50 and 100 for all of them, except for Cosmic Coaster only has 19. So that's the people that had kids with them. So we'll just kind of walk up here using the Coaster Bot rankings. Coaster Bot rankings will go from bottom to top. So Boomerang, I mean, it's a Boomerang coaster. I think both of us are not particularly fond of Boomerang coasters. Just kind of, was it the first one you've been on?
I've been on that one before.
Oh, okay.
I've ridden that one.
Okay, so you've been on that one.
I'm just older than I was when I was 14. When I was 14, I liked it. When I was 23, I got dizzy afterwards.
It's funny because on the frontward part, I'm totally fine. It doesn't bother me at all that I didn't feel like there was a lot of head banging on it. Like, I felt like it was pretty smooth, actually. But, man, the backwards loop, I'm okay. And really when it hits me is towards the end of the backwards Cobra roll. Like, just as we're exiting it, my body's just like, we're done. Like, if I had to do one more inversion going backwards, I probably wouldn't be able to handle it. Like, I would just be sick the rest of the day. It just pushes, like, right to my limit, and then the ride is over.
Yeah, it doesn't make me sick. I just was so lightheaded when we were done.
Really?
I just felt like...
That's funny. It doesn't make me dizzy.
So...
It just...
Blech.
It makes... Yeah, I feel... I just get motion sick afterwards, So... But... It's fine for what it is. It was a good boomerang.
If you like a boomerang,
I think I ranked it second out of the third out of the boomerangs I've been on. Second out of the ones that are. There's an inverted one at Kings Island. That's my favorite. So it's a boomerang, but it sits under the track instead of on the track.
Oh, interesting.
So that one's my favorite. But out of the normal boomerangs I've done, I think it's my second out of the ones I've been on. So not bad. The only reason I ranked it below the other one is the other one has vest restraints instead of the over-the-shoulder restraints, so those I prefer that. Spinning Dragons is next. We've both been on Spinning Dragons.
It was a long time
ago. The operations were really, really slow the day that we were there. Like, they were running like one car at a time, and like wouldn't send another car until the first one completed the whole circuit. So it was like, okay, I want to do the math on this. I want to see what capacity. And obviously we didn't watch the whole day, so I can't say that this is how it was all day. But at least when we were there. Should have done this earlier, but I'm just curious now. Okay, so one ride is a minute and a half. So if they're, dispatching every 90 seconds and they're doing 4... So, I'm sorry, I'm just going to do the math now. That's 160 people an hour. That's terrible. That's so bad. It doesn't say what the theoretical capacity is on this. Anyway, I guess it would be the same as like, So this says 720 riders per hour is theoretical capacity, and they were running at like 140. We'll even say 200, 250, just to give them the benefit of the doubt. Still, it was running at like a third capacity. So there was no way we were waiting in that line. Like, I guess we could have used one of our fast passes, but I don't know.
I don't love spinning coasters. I like Time Traveler. That's my exception.
Controlled spinning coasters are acceptable,
yeah.
But...
Yeah, I don't love, I never really loved, what was it?
The one at the Primeval World.
Yeah, it's Primeval World.
Disney World.
I only rode that one maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's just not my favorite type of coaster, so since I'd been on it before, I did not see...
I had the credit, the line was like an hour and a half long, we were just okay, maybe
There's
another time.
Things. Let's go ride the taxi tour instead.
Yes.
Things to do
I need my taxi tour credit. Oh, man. Timberwolf was next on the list. Now, you didn't do Timberwolf
Not
because...
This time. I've been on it before.
You have been on it before.
I rode Detonator while you did Timberwolf.
One thing that's interesting, I don't know, and this was something I learned afterwards, which I don't know why I didn't know this beforehand, but they actually did a layout change to Timberwolf in, I keep looking things up, but our trip reports are usually more chill anyway. They changed it in 2018, so I don't know when the last time you've ridden it was, but they did a major overhaul on it in 2018.
Would have been before 2018, so... It's been a while.
So it's kind of interesting because it's built in 89, so it was very similar to a lot of wooden coasters that were built back then, which was basically drops and then a slow flat turn. And then you do a drop or two, and then you go into the slow flat turn. Basically the turns are just kind of there to get the train going back in the direction they want, and then they can do some more drops. So turns were less thrilling back then. There was this one spot on the original. Here's the original layout. Okay. There was a spot here that it did this slow downward helix, and then that was kind of how it finished the ride. Was it a downward helix or an upward helix? I can't tell now based on this picture. But they took that helix out and they replaced it with here's what it looks like now. They just put like this banked turn, which and it so it goes, it's pretty heavily banked, which for 1989 would have been unheard of. But the company that built Prowler and Zambezi Zinger, they actually had them come in and redo that little section of track. So it's kind of a fascinating little spot there that it's like an old coaster that has a very modern turn on it. It's kind of
just
one
turn.
There's the one little turn there is very much like modern coasters instead of the way it used to be.
There's a picture there that showed how banked it was right there.
Oh, yeah, like this one right here. So,
yeah.
So I mean that's a pretty heavily banked turn for a 1989 coaster. So kind of interesting. There's a better picture of it. So I really enjoyed it. Where did I end up ranking it? Does this one have this ranking is previous to my trips to Holiday World and Kentucky Kingdom, but it's in my top half. It's kind of right in the middle of my coaster credits, but
Gotcha.
I ranked it above the Racer at Kings Island, but below Comet at Hershey Park, if that gives you enthusiasts an idea of how I felt about it. So it was good. It caught me off guard. The first drop was good, but then there's like a little airtime hill as you head into the turnaround, and it just popped me out of my seat to a point where I was like, whoa. That kind of caught me off guard. Like I typically don't get airtime like that on older wooden coasters like that one. So I was like, okay, Worlds of Fun. Not bad. So, fun ride. Let's get into the big ones now. So the next one, I think it's Patriot. Yeah, Patriot's the next one. Patriot was one of the ones I had done previous to this trip, but it was before I was an enthusiast. So it was before I really knew how I have to ride roller coasters because my brain loves roller coasters, but my body is kind of impartial to them. So not that my body hates it, but just like I get really motion sick if I don't take the proper precautions, which I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. But essentially, I have to have I think what I found the two most effective for me are the bands and the patch. So if I have bands and I have a patch on, then 90% of my motion sickness stays away for the most part. So. And then I do a few other things, too, that help try to keep that last 10% at bay as well. But, so the first time I rode Patriot, gosh, when would that would have been?
I think we tried to figure out what year it was.
And we still couldn't. It was 16 or 17. We can't remember which year it was. But when I had ridden it that time, I got so sick. Like, I had a lot of fun, but by the end of the ride, I was just like, But now that I know how to, handle motion sickness, I was really excited to give it another try.
We were able to ride it 2 times in a row.
Oh yeah, and I think 3 times. I think we rode it 3 times that day. I think we went back one more time and rode it later that day.
I think so.
And it was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I'll let you talk about it for a little bit since I got to just talk about Timberwolf.
This one was my favorite when I would come when I was in high school. And it's probably my second favorite now, in Worlds of Fun at least. I don't have an actual list of all of my roller coasters, but but it is definitely up there. I really, really like Patriot, and I love inverted coasters. Is that what that is? I love inverted coasters. I think they're so fun. So that is definitely plays a big role in how much I love it. So. It's a lot of fun. I love it.
Yeah, it's very good. I'm just picturing the layout in my head. The overbank turn on, I think that's what they classify it as. It's like after the Immelman, there's like this turn that kind of goes above the path. That's very unique to Patriot. I've never really seen an element like that. They don't classify it on RCDB, so it's this one right here.
Oh, okay.
I guess that's an overbank turn. I guess it's kind of almost an inclined loop, but it's flat enough that it's not considered an inversion. So, but it's a really interesting element, and I really like that part of the ride. Obviously, the inversions are really good. The corkscrew at the end is really intense. They tend to put a corkscrew at the end of these inverted coasters that just as you have a lot of speed at the end of the ride, they just, you go whipping right through that corkscrew. It's not as intense as some of the other inverts I've been on. So I rank it, how many? I've been on, I think 6 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've been on 6, and I rank it 5th out of the 6 I've been on. But all of them are very high in my rankings.
Yeah.
Like, they're all very good. So to say 5th out of 6 is not to say that it's a bad coaster. It's like saying, like, it's still very high in my rankings, if that makes sense. And the only reason it's not ranked as high as some of the others, Raptor's just longer. Banshee's my favorite because I love vest restraints, and if you listen to our Banshee episode earlier this week, then you know how much I love Banshee. But then the other ones, Raptor just has the double helix at the end where it's just, Patriot has a helix, but it's only like one turn, and then you go up into the brake run. Raptor goes like around like 2 times, and it's going downward, so you're like getting faster and faster, and
That's
so
cool.
that one's really fun too. Afterburn is the next one I like. That one, just the corkscrew is one of the most intense corkscrews I've ever been on. It's just a lot of fun. And then the only other one I have ahead of it is Silver Bullet, but that one just has that one's also a newer one, and it has a really long layout with has 2 corkscrews, and the finale over the water is just really cool. Anyway, they're all very good, and the only one I have ranked below it is Great Bear, just because Great Bear's kind of got a weird layout. Not a bad layout, but just strange. There's some dead spots in Great Bear's track that Patriot doesn't have, so Patriot's better than that. So, but all of them are very, very good. I'll ride any of the inverts over and over again any day. So, so there's my thoughts on Patriot. Any other thoughts, Patriot?
I love the color scheme.
The colors are very nice. They also, looking at it, I think I heard someone in line say they repainted it last year, and it looks very nice. It still looks very good. Right, so, next one on the list is Mamba, which, interesting, last year those two were switched. Patriot was number 2 and Mamba was number 3, but I think both you and I can kind of see why Mamba is climbing up in the rankings. Mm-hmm. They've just done so much to Mamba to make it just, it's so much better than what I've heard. This is my first time riding it. Kirsi has been on it before.
I've been on it before, yeah.
It's been a while, but she has been on it before. And so, if you're not familiar, one of the things that has really made all the difference, there's 2 big things that I've heard. Number 1, they significantly toned down the mid-course trim brakes before the Bunny Hill finale. And before, I think that was last year when they did that. So before 2022, well, you would go into those trim brakes and it would slow you down so much.
Almost to a stop. So slow.
And so you'd go through those bunny hills and just get no airtime. You just kind of meander your way back to the station. It's like
rocking on a boat.
And then you'd go back into the station. So people,
it was very anticlimactic.
Yes, so people would always hate on Mamba for just completely ruining the end of the ride. But for 2022, they significantly cut down how much that trim brake hits. It does still slow you down a little bit, but it's not enough to ruin that portion of the ride, because we did 2 rides before ERT started, right? I think we did 1 front row and 1 back row. Mm-hmm. And the front row, we were like, that was awesome. That was so much fun. So then we got on a little bit later that day, and we're like, we got to try back row. And my goodness, back row. I think the only reason back row was too much, like the airtime was just, that's insane. It felt like you were going to just get flung out of the ride and out of the park. But I think the only reason it was too much is just because the coaster was built in 98, I think. So coasters were not as comfortable in 98 as they are in 2023. So
they're kind of just getting slammed back down into
and it's a hard plastic seat, and they're like fitted seats that so they're like, it's not just a bench, it's like meant to it's a contour. That's what the word I'm looking for. It's a contoured seat. So if you have big hips and you don't fit in the contour, well, then you're just going to get slammed down into that at the bottom of every drop. So, which is, I don't know. I'm not, it's just how 1998 coasters were built. That's not to say Worlds of Fun did anything wrong. It's just, that's how it was back in 98. So preference is front row, or even middle of the train was better.
We tried like the third row or something at one point, and we were like, that's good.
Yeah.
We liked that.
And towards the end of the day, so we got, after, all the, the park closes at 9, we had ERT from 9 to 10 on Mamba and Prowler. And we started off with
a couple rides on Prowler.
Yeah, we started off with Prowler, which we'll talk about in a second. And then Mamba, we went to Mamba to end of the night, and I think we got like 4 rides on Mamba. 3. I think we thought it was, I'd have to go back and look. Anyway, we got 3 or 4 rides. We ended up getting Last Train of the Night, which was really cool. Mm-hmm. We thought we were only going to get, I guess if it was 3, we thought we were only going to get 2 rides. But then when we pulled into the station, they basically said, like, Last Train of the Night, you can stay on if you want. And we're like, yes. And so they there was a couple people in line, so they loaded us up, and we got to take the last train of the night.
It was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun, and at night it was a lot of fun too. One of the things I posted earlier this week is the ending of Mamba is my favorite ending on any of the 200-foot plus coasters I've been on. But some of the other coasters, I like their ending. I like them as a whole better. So, for example, let's see. So, like Diamondback, Intimidator, Candemonium, Phantom's Revenge, all of those, I like the whole ride more than I like Mamba. But that ending is better than any element that some of the others have. So I kind of posed this question this week of like, if Diamondback, which is my favorite hypercoaster, if Diamondback first half with Mamba second half, like that could potentially be a top 5 coaster for me. Like that would just be awesome. So Mamba was a lot of fun, and I was quite impressed with everything they've done. I guess I didn't mention this. The other thing they did is they actually, the lift hill used to slow down. Like you would go up, and then at the top of the hill it would slow down, and you would just kind of creep over the top.
Gotcha.
And they changed it, so now you just go, and then it just, full speed sends you over the top of the hill.
Nice.
So you actually get, airtime on that first drop, and also going a couple miles per hour faster in the subsequent airtime hills. So just the whole ride, they've really made an effort to make it more enjoyable for, I don't know.
It's definitely been improved.
Yeah.
Because Patriot was my favorite in Worlds of Fun when I was in high school, and I remember Mom being like, "This is kind of disappointing. Like you look at this big coaster, and you're like, it wasn't really that exciting. The most exciting part is that you're like 200 feet in the air, and that's about it." But riding it again this time I was like, before you told me that they had changed that, I was like, why is this so much more fun than I remember? What the heck?
Yeah.
But then when you mentioned that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's very good. A lot of fun. So, and I just, kudos to the park for even being willing to do that. Because, I feel like so many parks would just kind of be like, people are still riding it, so it's fine. And, Worlds of Fun basically got to the point where they're like, I think we could make this better, and was willing to, because clearly by doing that, it's going to cause more wear and tear on the track because it's going faster. And so that's going to do more wear and tear on the track and the wheels and the trains. So it's going to cause more maintenance in the long run, but they found it worth it to do that. And that's impressive for a park to be willing to do that. So,
yeah.
And then very last ride for us to talk about, we got to talk about Prowler. Now, Prowler is an interesting coaster because it is very similar to Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. I've heard a lot of people compare those two. We've even, if you've listened to our Mystic Timbers episode, Prowler was basically the inspiration for Mystic Timbers when Prowler won the 2000. Oh, what was it? I think it was. Oh, I gotta check now. I'm gonna get this wrong. I'm not a. Haley is always like, you don't know, and I'm like, I'm not a walking encyclopedia. 2009. So when Prowler won the Golden Ticket Award for Best Coaster in 2009, it beat out Diamondback at Kings Island, and it was a fraction of the cost. Like Diamondback was like $20 million plus, and Prowler was $8 million. So Kings Island kind of took a step back and was like, well, why are we doing this? And so they went to GCI, and basically Mystic Timbers essentially ended up being Prowler 2.0, so to speak. So a lot of comparison between those two. Mystic Timbers is slightly longer, slightly faster, slightly taller, but not like significantly more in any of those categories. So they're very similar. The only reason I gave Mystic Timbers the edge, because they are so similar, I gave Mystic Timbers the edge just because it has a better theme. Like the theming on Mystic Timbers is very well done. It has an actual fleshed out story and theming elements while you're actually on the ride. There's a point, I don't know if you've listened to that episode, but when you go up the lift hill, there's like speakers that essentially the theme of the ride is you're going into this haunted lumber camp that they don't know what's happening. It's some supernatural thing going on. And you're basically breaking in is the kind of the theme of the ride. So as you get on the lift hill, there's the speaker that's basically saying, what are you doing? Turn around. And then you get up to the top of the lift hill and it says, whatever you do, don't go in the shed. And
it's
then
terrifying.
and the train slows down as you hear that, and then it speeds back up and dives over the first lift hill. So it's kind of this cool moment of like hesitation, and then like, no, we're doing it. And so it's just really cool how they really thought about how to theme the attraction. So like,
Mystic Timbers?
It's at Kings Island, so in the Cincinnati area. So that was the one thing that gave Mystic Timbers the edge for me over Prowler. But both of them are so much fun. So I'll let you kind of share your thoughts.
Prowler surprised me because I've been on it before, I think, but I don't
know. Your reaction seems to tell me that you hadn't, but I'm not sure. I can't tell.
Yeah, I was not expecting Prowler to be as intense as it was. After we rode it the first time, I was able to go back on it and enjoy it more. But the first time, I was so...
I think you were just shell-shocked from how...
I was so taken by surprise.
And like, for enthusiasts, it's different because we kind of know what to expect. But for people that don't go to as many parks, when you hear wooden coaster, you kind of usually think of like Timberwolf, where it's like up and down and then slow turns, and modern wooden coasters are just so different from that.
Yeah,
so
if I had thought like Outlaw Run wooden coaster, I would have expected more of what Prowler is. And because I thought I had been on it before, and I truly don't know if I have or not, but I felt like, and maybe I just am remembering Timberwolf 2 times, and I just was expecting a second Timberwolf or something. But yeah, it definitely took me by surprise. But it was a lot more fun after the first time, and once I knew what I was getting myself into. Because we rode it 3 times?
So I think 4 when all was said and done. Because I think we rode it once during the day, because that is one thing I will nitpick on just briefly. The park needs to do a little work on their app, because at one point Prowler said a 5-minute wait and we walked up and it was an hour. So that's not okay. That needs to be fixed. So that's just really brief. But anyway, so we walked up and we had the fast pass, so it wasn't a problem. We just used the fast pass and hopped in line. So we rode it once during the day, which is the ride you were talking about that just kind of, you were shell-shocked.
I was like, what?
And then when ERT started, we went, and I think we did front row, back row, and then like...
we did front row again.
That's probably what we did. We probably did 2 front and 1 back or something like that.
Yeah.
But doing it in the dark was really fun. Was cool. It was a lot of fun.
There were a lot of bugs.
there was a lot of bugs. There's one section that like dives kind of down into this like ditch, and it got even darker down there just because there's like trees and that one section. I felt like every time I had
you're like kind of down in the bushes and stuff.
Yeah,
and
it felt like I had a bug hit my face.
Keep your mouth closed.
It's fair.
When you ride that ride in the dark.
So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. That ride, even though I gave Mystic Timbers the edge, that ride was so fun that it's made me rethink that maybe I have Mystic Timbers too low, and maybe I was being too harsh on Mystic Timbers. Like, I don't know. It's kind of made me rethink my opinion on wooden coasters. But then I went to Holiday World, and some of those coasters I didn't enjoy as much. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out what I think about wooden coasters, because typically I've ranked them lower than most enthusiasts, but Prowler really surprised me to the point that I was like, man, that was so much fun. Maybe I don't know, maybe it's just GCI wooden coasters that I like. Maybe it's not so much the older ones that I like as much, but anyway, it was very fun. So okay, well, I think the last thing to do then, I don't know, I forgot to tell you to do this, was to give a ranking of the coasters at Worlds of Fun. So let's see. Let me pull up the list here.
I can tell you what my ranking is.
Yeah. So, because I think this won't take super long, and our list is probably going to be pretty similar based on our experience. So, I would put Spinning Dragons at number 6 personally, even though we didn't ride it this time around. I just kind of know, for me, like, it's fine. It's a spinning coaster. Yeah. Those sometimes make me sick, sometimes they don't. But it's also kind of a small spinning coaster. But it's no time traveler.
Yeah.
So
I'd probably put Boomerang.
Boomerang at 6. Okay. And then I'm assuming I have Boomerang at 5 and you have Spinning Dragons at 5. Then number 4 for me is Timberwolf.
I'll put that in the same spot.
Yep. And then this is where it got a little difficult. I had a hard time between the 3 at the top here. I ended up putting Patriot at number 3. I don't know.
I put Prowler.
Yeah, Prowler at number 3. Okay. So that's how I had that one. But I had Patriot and then Prowler as my number 2, but they're actually right next to each other in my rankings, like among all of the coasters I've been on. So that's how close they were to me. It wasn't like a big gap between those two. They were both very good. And so I have Prowler at number 2.
I've got Patriot.
And you got Patriot at number 2. So which means both of us have Mamba as the clear favorite, which is so interesting to me because I kind of walked into Worlds of Fun expecting Patriot or Prowler to be my number 1 just based on my past experience. The only Morgan coaster I had been on was Phantom's Revenge, which is it's kind of half Morgan, half aerodynamic, so I really hadn't been on an actual Morgan coaster. And all I had heard was Mamba was bad, but now it's a lot better than it used to be. So I didn't really know what to expect. And it just completely blew me away. And to the point that I was ranking it ahead of things that I never thought I would have ranked it ahead of. It was just my biggest surprise from the trip, in a good way, was how much I enjoyed Mamba, which made me put it at number 1. So
me too, because I had been on it before and didn't love it that much. So Patriot was always my number 1, and that's what I expected it to be when we went again. And then when we got there and we rode Mamba and it was different, I was like, oh, this is a lot better, and it surpassed Patriot for me.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much everything. I don't know if you have any final thoughts, anything you'd like to say.
I don't think so.
I would just want to say I appreciate Ace for all the work and effort they put into putting together the Ace Around the World event, and the park for all the things that they did to really kind of make it make it up right to us of the with the whole Zambezi Zinger situation.
You could definitely tell that they were that they were trying to make it.
Yeah,
right.
and that's the thing.
Even
It's
if it
like
wasn't actually like as good as writing Zambezi Zinger, it was, the effort was definitely there, and that was the important part. So.
And that's the thing that, like, I think when the initial announcement and the after, like, I feel like some of the it felt kind of disconnected and unsympathetic, but seeing the people in person and hearing them talk about it, it was very clear that they were disappointed that it couldn't get to that point.
Yeah,
not just from the park, but from GCI and Skyline. Like, they were just very apologetic about the whole situation.
Yeah.
Which is much more than we got over social media. So I don't know, maybe that's an HR situation they need to resolve at Worlds of Fun. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. Definitely we'll be going back sometime this summer to go check out Zambezi Zinger. Yeah. I don't think we will record another episode for that, so be sure to just follow us on social media if you want to see some of our thoughts on Zambezi Zinger. We're over at Twitter and Instagram at Airtime Traveler is our handle, so pretty easy to find. And you'll also be updated whenever we do other trip reports. And so, yeah. So there you go. There's our thoughts from our trip to Worlds of Fun. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. And we've got other things coming up. I'm going to be going to Lagoon for my very first time in a couple weeks here. So that will be another new park I'll be hitting up. So very excited for that. And as I mentioned, got some trip reports from Holiday World and Kentucky Kingdom coming in the coming weeks, as well as our regularly scheduled Airtime Traveler episodes. So the next episode is our very first Dollywood episode, so be sure to go and check that out when it comes out. I think the 30th, I think, will be the next episode of Airtime Traveler, if I remember correctly. So, like I said, go and follow us on social media, and you'll be kept up to date whenever any of these things get posted on Spotify or whatever. So, I think that's all we have. Yep. Thanks to Worlds of Fun for the awesome day, and hopefully continue making improvements and additions. So, because I think the park, like I said earlier, is on a good trajectory, and would like to see them continue to make adjustments and improvements to, I think they really could be one of the better tier Cedar Fair parks if they continue to make adjustments and improvements the way they are now. So, well, thank you for tuning in to this trip report, and we will see you in the next one.